Hello, and welcome back to our second video in a series on the Evolve with Dr. Laura Basha. I'm Dr. Laura, and I am happy to be talking to you again. On our last video, which was the first video that addressed the first of three parts of a paper that I have up on the site, we talked about, the creative process and began the conversation of the wisdom of not knowing, which is the title of the paper that's up on the writing block of the page. That video was about 30 minutes long. It was a little bit too long, so this video is going to be more like 10, maybe 15 minutes. And the second part of the three-part series is now up on the page. So perhaps you've read the second piece of the paper that's up there. If you haven't read it, no problem. Please join us in the conversation, and if it intrigues you, if it inspires you, I think you'll find more meat in the second piece of the paper, things that you can reflect on. If you have read it, then hopefully this conversation will expand a little bit about what you've already seen for yourself in the paper. I guess one of the main things I would like to talk about in this section is a personal purpose. I make a lot of reference to a personal purpose. It's at the heart of the work that I do with executives, and it's actually become a touchstone for me in how I make my choices. How do I become more conscious in the choices that I make? We all are choosing all the time. We are all masters in our universe, and the way we create our experience in life is through choice. And even if you don't agree with that, even if you don't agree that it's all choice, that's a choice. So, just consider that as a possibility. Now, given that that's true, at least in this conversation, if we're creating our experience of life from choice, then it behooves us to be conscious about the choices that we're making. That way we become consciously masterful in the lives that we're living, and we really can create a life. We can listen for an authenticity and an authentic expression of how we want to be in life. So one of the ways that I have found that is most effectively accessed for people is in creating or articulating a personal purpose for yourself. And I have a process that I do with people that kind of bypasses the intellect. It's not something I can really do on this video, but one of the things I can give you is a little bit of a direction in how to find the words that resonate for you, that call to you, that you could put in a couple sentences that would actually capture an essence of who you are. That's what you want, is to capture the essence of who you are. That essence of authenticity that shows up in your family, but also shows up in your workplace and shows up as a creative, present expression of yourself. The words that capture that kind of essence are words like freedom and beauty and compassion and possibility, transformation, and it's something that you want not just for yourself, but you would want that for every human being, to have access to those authentic characteristics that when they refer to those words gives them access to this creative essence that they are. So once we've done that, if you sit and take the time to reflect on what words capture that, take your time. It's not probably something that you're going to well, it could be. It could be something you've been thinking about for a long time, so you might have those words right on the tip of your tongue. But if you don't, give yourself some time to really sit with it maybe thumb through magazines and see which words pop out for you. And when you're in conversation with people, find out what words resonate that they're talking about. Maybe it's peace, maybe it's healing, maybe it's comfort or nurturing. And maybe it's family. Maybe you're really interested in bringing a sense of family, not just to your own personal family, but to all the people that you interact with, so that they feel a sense of caring and belonging because they spent some time with you. It's the kind of expression that you've probably been engaged in for most of your life, even since you were a little kid. So take the time to be with that and find some words that capture that essence of who you are. When you do that, you will find that combination of words, that couple sentences, gives you a ballast, gives you like a true north that's like a compass for you towards your authenticity and towards your integrity, so that you could sit back and ask yourself, well, what would a woman who has that kind of purpose choose in this situation? So one purpose that has been authentic for me for some time is that I'm committed that people are free from the past, profoundly present, generating lives of authentic self-expression and joy. It's one of the reasons that I'm doing this program on evox television. It's something that inspires me, and it's my intention and my sincere hope that in listening to these videos or reading some of the blogs or some of the things that are on this page, that you get a sense of possibility, that you get a sense of hope and inspiration around something that you're dealing with. Let's see. There's a very similar process that occurs in my coaching practice, because I coach executives, I coach leaders who are out in the world working in the corporate settings, and there's a similarity to coaching people who've distinguished their personal purpose and are in the process of generating themselves to be that purpose in the world. It's a very similar process to the creative process of being in the studio. I'm also an artist, as I think I've mentioned before, and when you are in the studio confronted with a blank canvas, you have an idea of what you want to get on that canvas, but to actually tolerate the discomfort of having that image that you have in your head not show up on the canvas, and to spend the time to work that composition and get the right colors and keep coming back, dealing with the frustration of it not working, coming back and jumping into that frustration. The only way that you can actually get the painting to work is if you clear your head of everything you know. You got to clear your head of the vision that you have and how you thought it was supposed to be. And you have to get completely present, listening to the silence of the creative process, the silence of not knowing. What does that sound like? It actually has a vibration, it has a feeling, it has a sound, that if you take the time to turn your attention away from the kind of cacophony of noise in our head, which is the thinking that we have, that little voice that says, what thinking? That's what I'm talking about. Start to notice that kind of thinking that you're paying attention to, and see if you can turn your attention away from it and just be present with the painting. You will notice, as an artist, you will notice that it occurs to you what color to use. It occurs to you, I wonder if I put that line there, if that'll tie the whole thing together. It's the same thing working with successful leaders who are in positions of leadership in major corporations, major global corporations. They're very skilled at what they do. They're highly trained. They are experts in their field. The way to hear something new is to be turning our attention to that silence, to that realm of not knowing, which is really the realm of infinite intelligence. I'm sure I've mentioned this before, probably in the last video, but the realm of infinite intelligence is just what it says, infinite intelligence. So whatever issue you're bringing to consciousness, whatever problem you're dealing with, whether it's a creative process problem, standing in the studio wondering how to make the painting work, or if you're in a boardroom and you're dealing with some very significant leaders in the world, wanting to bring harmony in an inharmonious conversation, or even a combative conversation, or maybe you're in the kitchen with a teenager and you're really wanting to get through to your teenager and you're not quite sure how to do it because everything you know isn't working, and you're a great parent and it's just not working. Listening to the silence, getting curious about what that painting is trying to tell you, getting curious about where that leader is coming from, so that you can start to hear not only the differences that are happening in the room, but maybe the common thread where everybody can come together. Because when people are engaged in differences, they're mostly digging their heels in to be right and to be heard. We all do that. But if you can actually stop listening to the arguments and start listening to the harmony, the music of the silence, that's essentially the context in which all of life is happening. The silence is the realm in which all of life experience is happening. It's kind of the background harmonious music to the cacophony of life. Mostly we pay attention to the cacophony of life. Practice listening to the harmony of the music of silence, the melodious music of the silence. You know, you could even just sit quietly and pay attention to, sit in the garden in your backyard, go for a walk in your neighborhood. Just practice listening for the silence, and you might be surprised at what you hear. For me, it's a really high, fine frequency. And if I turn my attention away from what I know and listen for what I don't know, I can hear that really fine resonance, that fine vibration, that sound of silence. And it's like a scintillating background. We're looking at each other through it, even though we're on computers. We're looking at each other through it. It penetrates and interpenetrates and permeates our worlds. One way to think about this is, there's a question: what does the naked eye see? What is the naked eye? What if that was just looking from from a pure, unfettered, uncluttered frame of mind. Be here now. Listening to that silence, looking from the naked eye, without adding anything, without adding our opinions, our judgments, our expertise, and just really being present as if we had never seen or never heard what's in front of us before, and listening for what's there. What would we see? So, when you distinguish your personal purpose, and when you find the words that actually capture the essence of who you are, you will find that you have that touchstone, and you will have access to asking a question. Like, I can say, well, what would the woman who's committed to people being free say or do in this situation? And how can I actually bring a feeling of freedom and joy to the people that I'm talking to and to the world that I live in? See, I have to be working with myself and dealing with the patterns in myself that keep me from experiencing freedom. What are they? If I'm listening for freedom, if I'm listening for joy, what's going to start showing up for me is the places where I'm not joyful, the places where I'm frustrated. What's going to start to become really loud are the ways of being and operating that I'm really being inharmonious. And if I am really committed to being authentic and living from integrity, I'm going to start really dealing with myself in those areas. Wow, I'm really not committed to being angry in my marriage. I'm really not committed to saying that thing. This person is obviously insecure. I wonder what I could say that would have them be more secure. What am I feeling? Am I reacting to something? What's that about? Why can't I just be present and listen and not take personally what's going on, but really listen to be a solution, really listen to bring freedom, really listen to bring joy and authenticity? We want to be and we want to bring what we're looking for. If you're looking for more affection and love in your relationship, how loving and affectionate are you being? If you're looking for more joy and fun in life, how much joy and fun are you bringing? We want to practice cultivating the essence of who we are so that we can bring that to our worlds. So let's consider taking the time to reflect on, who am I authentically? What do I want to be contributing to my world? Who do I want to be? And how much are we paying attention to those questions versus how much are we paying attention to how we're behaving in ways that we don't want, like trying to fix something? I promise you, if you turn your attention away from really looking at the problem, it's not like you don't want to acknowledge the problem, but if you take a lot of the attention that we place on the problem and think about what we want, you will start experiencing what you want. If finances are an issue, are you focusing on the lack of finances, or are you focusing on what you'd like to be creating while you deal with the pragmatic issues at hand? If you want to be losing weight, are you focusing on food and being overweight, or are you focusing on how does a thin person live? What does it feel like to be thin? What would it be like to be thin? If you want more happiness in your life, are you paying attention to how sad you are, how lonely you feel? Or are you thinking about happiness? Are you just reflecting on happiness? So I will leave you with that. I wish for you a wonderful month. Thank you for joining us. Please send in questions if you have any. I'd love to see them. We can fit them into the next conversation, the next month, which will be April, will be the third video and the third writing piece, which will give you the entire 3 parts of the paper that you can have. It'll be available on the evox site. So thank you again. It was my pleasure. I look forward to talking to you next time.